Yes, sir. Shall we start?
Sure.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Agriculture Information.com, I welcome Dr. Neeraj Jain, and he will talk on the topic commercial moringa farming, market reality, profitability, and export opportunities. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Thank you much for the introduction, and thank you very much for the opportunity that I could speak about this topic. We are going to talk about commercial moringa farming and what's the market reality. I mean, there's a lot of, I would not say hype, but then so much talk around in when you talk about agriculture, like what are the high value crops or high value medicinal crops or export value crops. Moringa is one of the crops which always is it can be heard around, right? So we are going to talk about like what's the market reality exactly? Is it a hype or is it really a high value crop? And how what from the perspective of the a farmer, is it really that profitable? Yes or no? When it becomes profitable, and then what are the export opportunities and how exactly can we leverage that, or what exactly do we need in order to be in a position that we can create export opportunities when it comes to moringa? So as I said, I mean, the market demand is growing. You might have seen like there were other presentations like a few weeks ago where we saw like there were major markets, for example, US, Germany, Japan, where there were at least forecast of millions of euros of demand of moringa products in general, like not just leaves or oil, but like in general, the overall demand for moringa products, right? So that's the reality that there is this demand, but then the question is like do we get this produce price, like when we say I mean it's I don't know, like 7, 8, 9, $10 per kilo for the powder. I mean, is it the price which the farmer gets? Who gets this price, and is it really reasonable? Is it really realistic? The second point is there are lots of farmers, and this is again a reality. There are lots of farmers who are growing moringa. You might have heard like people who are earning lakhs and lakhs from moringa on YouTube videos, or who have been growing that for such a long time. So this means it's not a new crop to us. The only thing is, for example, if you go to a mandi, you would see there would be like a quality of like same crop, but with different qualities. There would be so many twigs around or yellow leaves. So the quality is not that consistent. And this is something which is a big challenge for the linkage between the market and the farmer, that the market or the big companies, they are looking for consistent quality, but the farmers, since lack of awareness, it's not that the farmer they cannot deliver, it's the lack of awareness that what exactly is the quality, how do we define it, is it quantifiable? So these are the things which we have to think about when we go in moringa farming. And last thing, whenever, so for example, our business is, we help the farmers to grow moringa. And the first question is, they focus on production. How much can I produce so that I get maximum volume? I mean, this is, from when we think about um, logically it makes sense. Okay, the amount of production, the weight, if it increases, your revenue increases with it as well. But then that's not the only factor. In moringa, the quality plays a major role, to whom you are selling this and what price. I mean, even if you have larger volume but the quality is not good, right, you would not have so many buyers. I mean, your worst case, you might have to sell in a mandi, and the worst case would be your mandi doesn't have moringa market. I mean, for example, we are based out of Udaipur. We have Neeraj Mandi, which is not that far, and you can sell your moringa, but then not every mandi has this. And even in Neeraj Mandi, you do not get the value of your product, right? And so this means if you want to sell a premium product, you have to have a premium buyer, and you have to meet the requirements of that buyer. So in a nutshell, growing moringa is easy. I mean, for our climate, it's very low maintenance plant when it comes from the soil perspective, when it comes from the water perspective, and the maintenance overall, right? But then selling it profitably, it's not that straightforward. I mean, it is manageable and everything, but then we have to know what is required, and after we know what's required, how to fulfill those requirements. So I would just go through a few points. Where do the farmers go wrong when you start growing moringa commercially? right? So the first thing is no buyer. I mean, obviously, as we discussed, that it's an easy crop to grow. But then if there are no buyers, if you do not know where to sell, because it cannot be sold like other products, for example, grains or cereals or vegetables and so on. It cannot be sold in a normal mandi. So you have to know in the beginning itself, who is going to buy my product. Poor drying. So, like for example, moringa leaves is the major produce from moringa. Obviously, there are other products, for example, from seeds. For example, pods, you get seeds or seed oil and everything. But then the most of the volume comes from moringa when it comes to revenue. So, since leaves are the major product, how to dry them in the most appropriate way that we get the highest possible value or a premium value from the buyers. Because if we do not deliver this product with this predefined quality, our product might be downgraded. This means we might not get the price which we expected, or it will get rejected altogether. Another thing is inconsistent quality. So it is connected to drying. I mean, you might be able to produce leaves, but then since you do not have a standardized process to dry the leaves, so this would reflect in your leaves as well, and in the end in the powder as well. So if there's not standardized, sometimes you might get good quality, sometimes not. And for the buyers, consistency is the most important thing. Like they know they are going to get this quality of powder or leaves from a farmer or a group of farmers or aggregator, whoever it is, but they expect consistency. I mean, if they know that the quality is compromised a bit, but at least they know this quality is expected in this volume from this aggregator, farmer, or whatever it is, right? So the consistency is the main thing from a buyer perspective. And the last point is how organic is misunderstood. For many people, when they say organic, they automatically think about, okay, I will get a premium price. And that's true to a certain extent. But then that's not the only concern. For example, we had an inquiry, I think 10 or 2 weeks ago. Organic was one thing, but then what about the heavy metals? Like we had to get the tested, because in moringas, since it can grow into a tall tree, but then even if you do a dense commercial farming, it grows up to 6 to 7 feet. This means, like, even if you are organic certified, but then if the neighbor is spraying something, and since it's a tall tree, the leaves will get some particles out of the spray, and that might result in some heavy metal content in your moringa leaves, even though you are certified, but then it will show up in the results. So this means organic is not just the only thing. We have to think about different aspects as well. What comes under the requirements of a certain buyer. So these are things which are, I mean, not that common for grain or cereal, but then when it comes to moringa, we have to really think about it in advance. What we are going to sell, what's the market we are trying to target, and what are the requirements of this market. So that's where we come from. Like there are so many gaps which we saw in the last slide, right? Like where do the farmers make mistake or do not think about that? Not necessarily a mistake, but then myself, Neeraj Jain, and what I do is I take care of the operations and strategy in Sahyoga Organics. So what we focus on is market-driven crop selection. Moringa is one of them. Like we have this network of farmers. So which crops should be grown based on the market need, and how can we work in certain business models. Contract farming is one of them, and in other cases maybe they do not have the contract, but then we have a contract with the aggregator that we are going to get certain amount of or volume of products from them, and how to link them. I mean, as I said, contract farming is one partnership model. There are other partnership models as well. So this is what I work on to work out the best working business contract, or not a contract, like a relationship. Would it be a contract farming relationship? Would it be a partnership relationship, and so on? So based on the farmer and the volume and the crop, we decide how we work. Now coming back to moringa, where does the real value? I mean, I will not spend so much time here because these are the major products. People who might be interested in the topic might have done this basic research that fresh leaves, it's the most basic thing. I mean, I don't know any mandi, but then certain farmers I know, they have fixed buyers, direct consumers who are interested in moringa leaves, fresh moringa leaves. They use in parathas and soups and so on. So very niche market. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a local market, but then it's just like direct consumers. Then dried leaves. So that's the base for processing. And this is where the farmers have the most impact, because they control the moringa production, like the plant growth, how the leaves are, fertigation, and so on, how to maintain the plant and dry the leaves, because this happens locally. Then after the leaves are dry, the next major product is then a powder. So powder is more of then like not a niche product, but then where the processing itself plays a role, like what is the quality of the product and how you maintain it till it reaches the consumer. And the last one is seeds and oil. So, I mean, seeds, of course, for farming, and then the oil which can be extracted from it. So again, a niche market, but then one of the crops of moringa. When it comes to the quality, then, right, these are the products which we discussed. Now the main thing which we started in the first slide, like what is the quality, what are the criteria of this quality we're talking about. So the first thing, when it comes to leaves, so we will focus majorly on the leaves, because that's where our experience is, and where we dealt with buyers, where we dealt with farmers, and where are these gaps. So from our point of view, moisture control, right, so we have to dry the leaves, and how dry they are, right. So we have to really think about it, like they are dry enough so that there is no fungal or E. coli or something on our dried moringa leaves. So this is a major criteria. And then it becomes even more important when it comes to export, right? Because it takes from your farm where you deliver dried leaves to a certain country, right? It might take, like, from the logistic itself might take 1 to 2 to 3 months, depending on the end destination of the product, right? So this means we have to make sure that there is no infestation on the dry leaves, that they are dry enough, right? So this is a major criterion for moringa leaves quality, that's moisture free. Then color retention, as you might know, I mean, moringa, we saw on the first slide that the few of the leaves were green, few of the leaves were yellowish, right? So this certainly depend on like how you maintain the plant when you cut the leaves, and then in the end how you dry it. So that these are the factors when it comes to color retentions, because in most of the cases it's the colors, I mean, how it looks, that sells. So it means like people prefer naturally green, and that's what, since people prefer that, the vendors, where I mean the buyers, the B2B buyers, they are also interested in this color. So at least from the farmer point of view, we have to make sure that we have leaves are dried in a proper way so that this color retention is there. Then during the drying process, clean handling, because I mean, most of the people, they wash the leaves before drying, but then even after that, how do you handle the leaves after that, right? If somebody sun dries it, it's under natural air, gets natural air, and under sun, there's dust in the air, and then that gets deposited on the leaves, and then from that process, from the drying process, it's directly going to pulverized, right? So there is no step of cleaning, and this means this dust particles, they get along with the leaves and then result in ending up in the powder. So it's really important to have a standardized and hygienic process where we do not, I mean, where we avoid dust particles and other contaminations entering into our moringa leaves. And then last and the most important point, consistency. All these things, deliver them consistently, and we can achieve consistency by only one way: standardizing processes. By that means, I mean, starting from the growing itself, like when to do fertigation, when irrigation is required, when the cutting is required, so that you have healthy green leaves, right? And then from there, drying process, and then pulverizing process, and so on, so that you deliver this consistency with standardized processes. So this is from the point of view of market. And now when it comes like a point of view of farmer, like where exactly does it become profitable for a farmer? So as you might know, that moringa is a multi-year crop, a perennial crop, majorly like for 5 years, it gives like a very good produce of leaves. So the first year is plantation itself, right? The first harvest is maybe like 5 to 6 months, right? This is kind of learning curve for the farmer because it's a new plant, and then when to cut, when do the leaves are when are the leaves mature enough, right? So they start turning yellow. So what is this timing? It is very, I mean, like any other crop or plant, it depends on the microclimate, the region, the soil, and everything, right? So this is the learning curve from the farmer. So the first harvest might be inconsistent. Like we expect something, for example, in 1 acre of moringa farming, or the way we do, it's like 600 to 700 kilos. But it might not be the case in other farmer because, yeah, the processes might not be followed in the same manner, and fertigation process and so on. So things might change from the external factors, sorry, from your side as a farmer, and things might change from the climate as well. So this might result in some inconsistency in general. And what happens, what the consequences, that the profit in the end is not what you expected. At least in the first year, it doesn't match the profit which you are getting from the conventional crops. For example, in a webinar last Sunday, there was a farmer from Punjab, and that person asked me that I have 3 acres of land. I'm growing wheat and rice in my farm, and from 3 acres, I'm earning a profit of 2,70,000. So can moringa beat that, right? So this means per acre 90,000 profit from 1 year, and like on paper, like when we calculate the initial investment, like including everything, labor, fertigation, everything, it will not be able to beat this 90,000, which the farmer was earning anyways from the conventional crop, right? So the major profit chunk that starts from the following years, when your initial cost, your input cost reduces, and the output cost, or the revenue, sorry, the revenue increases, and with that you learn as well, okay, how is my plant performing, what actions needed to be taken at what time, and so on. So you learn with that, and even the process becomes standardized for you, at least, right? Use first the crop itself, and when to harvest, what are the steps when it comes to drying, how do I get the best quality leaves, and you learn with it, right? And then your income also becomes more predictable with your process. Your vendor gets to know, okay, this is the quality I'm expecting from this particular farmer, and then it becomes a steady flow of income for the farmers, where like every 3 or 4 months you have this harvest, and then you can beat the conventional crops, but only after second year. So this mindset also, I mean, this expectation management is required in the first year, that it's not going to beat the conventional crops, because that's the reason most of the people switch to moringa, that I can beat the prices or the revenue which I was generating from the conventional crops. But that might start from second year, right? And then as you go on with the crop itself, and if you get the organic certification and so on. So it's a journey. I mean, it's not like other crops where you just sow it and you get the benefits in the first crop cycle. So what actually drives from it? The quality of the output. Then with learning, I mean, you will learn as a farmer, plus the labor will learn as well. They'll be more efficient, how to pluck the leaves, like how to wash them in a most efficient manner. And then with time, there will be a market for you. And consistently, like with each harvest, you learn about the market, you learn about your own product, and then this will drive the profit, right? Then you can maybe upscale it. So everything begins with this initial resistance, or I might not say resistance, but then the first year itself, where you have to bear with it, that your revenue from the moringa leaves is not beating the conventional crops. So we spoke about the farmer point of view. Now, what are the markets? Like now you have moringa, you know, okay, these are the challenges which I have to overcome. I have to understand that the first year itself will be a like low profit year when compared to the following years. So these are the major markets where people can sell moringa. The first is, of course, local buyers or traders, where it's very prominent, for example, in South India, where it originates from. There are traders, local traders for moringa leaves. In our case, for example, Udaipur, there's Neeraj Mandi, where you find traders where you can sell your moringa products. In this case, it's very easy to sell. I mean, the quality is not a major issue for them. You just go there, there's bidding process, and then the person with the maximum bid gets the product. They are not so bothered about the requirements, because the price they are offering the farmer is also very low. So they do the sorting reading on their own and then create the products out of it. So it's really easy to sell there, given that you have the market, and then with low requirements. Then the next market or the group of people who trade moringa are the aggregators or processors. So I consider myself or our company as an aggregator, where we have a network of farmers, and from them we buy the leaves, or people as processors who directly buy the leaves and process them for the products like moringa powder. So in this case, we really look at the quality of the leaves, for example, because even we have to sell it to our vendors. So how many green leaves do we have? How many yellow leaves we have? How was the plucking done, that we do not have that many twigs in the moringa leaves, because then your moringa powder, the quality of that or the greenness of that product will be affected by how many twigs or rest of the plants are there in your moringa leaves. And this is kind of more stable demand. I mean, if you have a relationship, or if, for example, our farmers, they have a relationship with us, so they know and they have confidence that there's this person who's going to give me at least this price on a consistent level. And on the other hand, we are in this relationship as well, where we know that we are getting a particular product from this farmer with this quality. And this is how we have to go from there. Like, what if we need more sorting, grading of a particular crop after we buy it from the farmers? And the next one is export supply chains, where many aggregators like us, there are people who buy from us in bulk volume, for example, 40 to 50 metric tons of dried moringa leaves with particular quality standards. So from this, and I mean, if we are targeting the domestic market, the regulations are not that strict. To be honest, I mean, the vendors, they do not have such specifications as an export. For example, this query I was telling about, that even with organic certifications, there were other compliances which needed to be fulfilled. For example, in that case, they were very particular about the lead content. It should be below 1 ppm, right? And this means that, yeah, if we have to make sure, like collecting it from different farmers, we have to make sure like that our samples from different farmers, they do not get in, like the people who are doing conventional, or where they are growing it, in which conditions, what have they applied. So based on this, we can kind of predict where we might see some compliance gaps, right? So that's then our job to maybe segregate the farmers based on how they grow moringa, and then fulfill the requirements of the exporter in the end. We have exported it, but then for us, it's still a very small volume. And right now, we are in this part of this export supply chain, which has, again, higher, like stricter requirements. And even in that case, consistency is the main thing. For example, this buyer I'm talking about, they were like, yeah, we will need this quality of moringa, 20 metric tons per month. So this means if they qualify the vendor like us, they will invest into us with testing facilities and everything. And so they expect something from us, like we deliver this particular product with some consistency, so that they can create like export volume for themselves, right? And then again, this is something, so you get better price when you are dealing with such exporters. But on the same side, you have to think about the rejection probability, right? So that's why they make sure, like every lot they are getting, it's being tested. And again, that's being transferred to us, that we make sure that all the farmers, we segregate them on an internal basis, like from which farmers we are expecting which kind of quality, and we include only those farmers, or the produce from only those farmers, which will then get into this next step. So this means it's very, or I would say that it's almost impossible for a small volume farm, like a small marginal farmer, to directly export anything. That person or a group, that person should be then part of this supply chain to be able to export and get this premium price. Because as we mentioned, I mean, in the cases where we have partnership models, we share this profit as well. All right. So this means they have to be part of this supply chain. I already mentioned that when do they fail, right? There's exporters. The first one is again inconsistent quality. This variation. That's why this consistency is important for the exporters, that we get this consistency from all the batches. Then the poor post-harvesting, harvest handling, that after harvesting the hygienic conditions are not maintained, lack of standardization, like in your process, sometimes you have different temperatures or different humidity. How do you mitigate that in your particular production process and so on? And last, the weak market alignment. There are no clear buyer requirements, and then in the end, if when they don't know what they need, they just, yeah, it's very difficult for you to deliver as a company or as a group of farmers. So what works actually from a commercial point of view for a farmer, that we have to have a market clarity from the first day itself. Like, this is the market I'm catering to. I'm going to sell in a mandi or aggregator. Try to understand the requirement, and then you start growing accordingly. And from the first day itself, you have to decide, okay, am I going to go organic? How focused I am to not to have heavy metals. Like, what are the steps which are needed to be taken to assure that? So you have to start from the day one. You have to start small, right? So that you understand the dynamics behind it. How much effort does it take? Can you maintain it, right? I mean, growing it on half an acre is different than growing it on 10 acres. So this upscaling, it's always something which you have to go slowly and gradually, so that you understand the process and the labor involved. It's a learning curve for everyone. So you have to take it slow. And then it's a system and not just one single crop. So it's not like it's established like wheat, where you know how to grow it, you know where to buy the seeds from, the fertilizers from. You have one trader, where this trader directly comes to you and buys the wheat. So this system is established, but that's not the case in moringa. You have to work on it to maintain, start the system, build the system, and then maintain it. And then, so this is one thing, moringa. And like, as businessmen, we always think of diversification, right? I mean, moringa is one crop, but then how do I make sure, like, if there are any changes in regulations or market, since it's a long-term crop, we have to make sure that our farm is diversified enough. And how can we do that? So it can vary based on quality and everything, right? From external factors. And we give our best to keep the process standardized, but there might be some changes in regulation. So we have to make sure that, or there might be some infestation. You never know. So just to make some diversification, we have to think in a manner where we have other crops as well, which might add value, or which might reduce the risk in our farming venture. So moringa, for example, could be a primary crop, and then you mix some other crops with it. For example, we always think if we are setting up a farming project, we always think, just like in mutual funds, that you have short term, where you need some quick cash flow, then some mid-term and some long-term investments. Just like that, even in farming, we think about like short-term crops which get quick cash flows, for example, something like chia or something. Then there are medium-term crops where you have stable seasonal income. For example, you have black ginger, black turmeric, where you can mix with it and get some income from it. And then the long-term crops, where maybe in the boundary of your farms and everything, you can get some trees, for example, Malabar neem and so on. So you have to diversify. You come from short-term view to long-term view, and keeping moringa as the focus, right? I mean, this is something where you need some agronomic input to understand, and of course the market. I mean, moringa's market is one thing, and the market of the other crops which are growing. So it is really important to invest some time, energy into this, that you understand the market, the challenges with the crop, and how much energy and time you're going to invest from your side. So the key takeaways from my end: always think about the market first, because the other agriculture is the only business which is more of people don't know the market. Is just we grow and then we sell whatever is the price. But then in this case, we have to understand the market first, and then we select the crops based on it, not just what we're doing from the last 10, 15, 20 years, but then what is the demand, and then we grow accordingly. The major thing is, I mean, quantity is one thing, but then we have to really think about the quality, because this is what qualifies you as a vendor for some B2B buyer, right? If you have the quality, then you will be on this list, where you will have a long-term relationship with some vendor. And again, if you deliver the quality, you have to deliver it consistently, because if your product fails one time, it will have bad cons. Like, I mean, you lose the contract itself. So you have to make sure, like, whenever we are delivering something, we deliver with the consistent quality, so that there are no hiccups from this. If this product fails, it will have a bad impact on the relationship with the vendor, and we have to make sure that farmers, if you're a farmer, then you deliver the quality, and if you're an aggregator, you make sure that you do this pre-selection of the crop based on the farmer. And then last is, you have to think in systems, not in crops, because as we discussed that moringa, it's not just a crop. I mean, there are certain aspects related to it, right? I mean, there's a process which we need to follow, which happens locally. For example, drying of the leaves happens locally. Then there is logistics, and then the validation of the moringa leaves, right? So we have to think about the entire system, where we stand in our ecosystem. Am I a farmer? Am I an aggregator? Am I an exporter? And then on each end, then there are certain requirements expected from you in that particular role. And from the top, like from the buyer, the requirements come, and then it breaks down for farmer, it breaks down for the aggregator, and breaks down for exporter. So this needs to be made clear from your particular role, and then you take the steps so that you can deliver the product in according to that particular requirement. So yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you very much again for this platform, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful presentation. I'll take up the questions now. In the meantime, can you please stop sharing the screen so that we can see your full
Sure.
video? Yeah, I'll move on to the questions now. The first question is, what is the average cost of cultivation per acre and expected return in the first 2-3 years?
So in our estimates, what we estimated is like it's about 60 to 70,000, including everything: seed cost, your land preparation, your mulching, drip irrigation, and so on, and labor, of course. That's the major part of your operational cost in moringa. So it is, as I said, 60 to 70,000 per acre. And then from in the first year, as we already discussed, it is going to be a bit low when compared to conventional crops. So our average is about maybe 30 to 1,500 kilos in the first year. This translates to, with our buyback price, about 1.5 lakhs per year, like for the harvest, for the second 2 or 3 harvests which you get in the first year, which then again gives you a profit about 60 to 70,000 per acre for the first year. And from the next year on, your cost reduces. You just have the operational cost, which is majorly just the labor. I mean, maybe a few thousands for fertigation, 3 to 5,000, but then your major cost would be labors. Our average is about 30 to 40,000 based on the location, like what the daily wages are. It gets to about 40,000, and from second year on, your revenue also starts increasing. It's then about 2 lakhs. So then, 2 to 2.5 lakhs is then from there, 2 to the second to fifth year.
Okay. Sir, which variety like PKM1, PKM2 gives the best ROI under Indian conditions?
So I would just divide India in two parts, North India and South India. What we have tried so far, like in southern part of India, Valapati is the best variety when it comes to the amount of harvest, and PKM1 we haven't tried. So this is the experiment which we have already started, and we'll get the results in the season. Like we planted Valapati in Udaipur, and we'll compare PKM1 and Valapati. But then right now, our major focus, since we are based out of North India, PKM1 is the variety to go with.
Sir, what are the hidden costs like processing, certification, logistics that farmers often ignore?
As a farmer, I think like certificates, it's for the farmer, the most important thing is the organic certification. And I don't think it's hidden cost. I mean, most of the states, they have their government state corporations for the organic certification of the farms. The other certificates, which we're talking about, the lab tests and everything, I think it becomes important only for aggregators who are talking about big volume, right? For example, we from our farmers, we just expect the organic certification, and that's pretty much it. The other next certifications, which are important from the point of view of exporter, those are then relevant for us and not for the farmers. If farmer himself or herself has like 100 acres of land, then it becomes relevant that they get the lab tests done for equally and other heavy metals. But then I don't think there are such hidden costs when it comes to certification. Organic certification is rather transparent these days, at least. And that's what our impression is in Rajasthan and the neighboring states. And I'm pretty sure, like even in the other states, the state corporations have a very straightforward process when it comes to organic certification. So I think from the farmer point of view, that's the only certificate they should think about.
Okay. How does profitability differ between selling raw leaves versus value-added products?
It is indeed that there's a big jump when it comes to, for example, dry leaves to dry powder, and people might see that their, for example, leaves are sold at when we talk about us 100 kilos, 100 rupees per kilo is what our price is, and people do buy it from 130 to 150 rupees per kilo, and people might see that there is moringa powder which costs around 2000 rupees per kilo from different brands. But then this jump itself is not that easy, because when I talk about so since we are talking about export, I'll just give one example. For exporters, they do not, right now at least, do not necessarily buy moringa powder. They do insist on moringa leaves because it's very difficult to differentiate if a powder contains is it pure moringa or if something else is mixed with this. Until unless they have a long-term relationship with the vendor, they are very particular about they will I mean, at least this is our experience. They really stress about that they are focusing on moringa leaves right now. And this jump is there when it comes to validation. But then, yeah, it's in B2B markets, it's a bit difficult. If you have your own brand, you can do that. But then at least this is our experience that in B2B market, validation, in case of moringa, the people prefer the raw produce until unless you have a long-term relationship with the importer.
Okay. Sir, what are the critical success factors for high-yielding moringa farming?
So this is something which we have covered in the presentation, that from the day one itself, you have to have some guidance. If this product, if this crop is new for you, you have to really understand the crop cycle, like which variety you're using, what is your final product. Are you aiming for pods or are you aiming for leaves? Based on that, you choose the variety, based on the location and so on. And these things need to be considered. And then a bit of hand holding when it comes to agronomy. It could be like a private firm or I mean in southern part of India, I'm assuming, I mean, the KVKs, the Krishi Vigyan Kendras, they might help you out. There are certain institutes in Tamil Nadu, for example, there is an institute which helps you in agronomic guidance as well. So in my opinion, the farmer should always do some like needs some support in the beginning, and that person has to figure out where that person gets support from. So that's the major challenge I see. And people should not, I mean, at least in our group, we do not overwhelm the farmers. We ask them to focus on the production first and the processing comes next. Even if your drying process is not that standardized, not the most optimal way with will get the best quality dry product, but then focus on the plant first, and then stepwise you go into processing, how to make sure that that whenever I cut, what's the best time to cut, so you can optimize with time. But then first the farmer should focus on the production, on growing the crops themselves.
Okay. Is moringa suitable for intercropping? And if yes, what crops work best?
So it is indeed suitable for intercropping, because anyways, we do not allow the plants to become trees when you do commercial farming of moringa leaves. So the maximum height we are talking about like 6 to 7 inches. This means like if you do something, there will be partial shade for any crop. So like our company, for example, focuses on medicinal crops. So there are certain crops like black ginger, black turmeric, safed musli, shatavari, like all these roots, the rhizomes crops, they actually prefer partial shade. So these are some high value crops which can be done intercropped with moringa, so that you have some regular cash flow with moringa and some long term like high value crop which will grow in form of black ginger or turmeric. So this is one example. We know people they grow wheat as well because they leave enough space in between. They grow pulses, so that that's how they try. I mean, we have a farm in Haryana where they grow, this time they grew wheat with moringa. So since it's partial shade, you can maintain it. Yeah, and just from the agronomic point of view, you have to make sure like there's not a nutrient fight between the crops. But then that would be the only thing, since you will not get like 100% shade like any other tree. This plant will be harvested frequently, and yeah, will not allow it to grow big enough. So these are the medicinal crops. Actually, this is our suggestion, which people can grow with moringa.
Okay. What level of processing infrastructure is needed to enter premium markets?
To enter premium markets, the drying process is the most important thing, because as I said, I mean, if a farmer is starting, that person should not think much about processing. I mean, there are markets where you can sell the sun-dried leaves as well. But then if since your question is directly related to a premium market, hygiene becomes a major issue, and all the things which we discussed, that moisture free and so on. So that means, yeah, you have to have drying units. In that case, it could be solar tunnels or electric dehydrators, where you can regulate everything, the moisture and the temperatures, and what is the most optimal temperature. So this is something where you have to invest some time. I mean, obviously, there are people who have experience like our company. There are other companies as well who know like how long should be moringa leaves, like fresh moringa leaves, be treated under which temperature, so that you get the premium product. So this understanding, so the drying process itself, I think that's the investment or the step people should understand about when they want to be part of this premium market.
Okay. Which value-added products have the highest export potential?
For us, in our experience, it is indeed moringa powder, because there have been many studies, not just in India, but even in other countries, where they have shown like how much potential moringa leaves have, and the easiest way to consume them is in the form of powder. So that has the highest amount because of all the vitamin contents it has, and that's why India, it is native to India, but then so many other countries, like I mean, so many African countries and countries like Philippines and so on, they are growing moringa as well. So that's why, and growing moringa majorly for their leaves and in the end the powder. So in our opinion, that's the powder, which is the powder is the product which is the value-added product which has the most demand right now.
Okay. Sir, what are the common reasons shipments get rejected in international markets?
The major reason is indeed these tests which we're talking about. Like, first of all, it's a long journey, and the moisture content. If the moisture content is high, there is high risk of fungus and bacteria, and that's the major reason, because people think, as we discussed, I mean, organic directly means, yeah, it qualifies as premium product, but these are the things where I mean, you have the certification process, but then it gets rejected because of yeah, it's a long journey, and if there's enough moisture there in the market, I mean, in the leaves, it might not get detected in the test if we do it in India, but just because of the presence of moisture, it might develop with time, and then your product might get rejected or has high probability of rejection when it reaches the destination, just because of the presence of moisture.
Okay. Which countries currently offer the best export opportunities for moringa?
It is indeed so US, Germany, and Japan, they have a high demand. Considering like Europe, Germany or Europe in general has the strictest requirements, and South Korea is coming up as a growing market as well. But again, yeah, we're talking about the requirements which are like at the highest level when it comes to not just moringa but any other food products.
Okay. How does contract farming with companies like yours reduce risk for farmers?
So the first point we talk about where people make a mistake is then thinking about the market, and that's the major concern for so many people that yeah, I can grow moringa because it's easier to grow low maintenance crop, low input crop as well. But then since the market is assured, the people can really work on the production, right? And that's our goal as well, that we take away this stress from the farmers that the market is ready, but then you should focus on the production. And on the other side, this is one side that the market readiness is there for them. And on the other hand, companies, or at least we do handholding from the agronomic point of view as well, that we give them the fertigation plan and the irrigation plan based on their soil, their region, and so on, so that they focus on the production part where they have expertise. They are the farmers, they know their land the best, their region the best. So from their experience and our agronomic guidance, they can focus on the production, and then we take care of the market. So this is how we can help them in reducing this stress about the market.
Okay. What should farmers check before entering a buyback or contract farming agreement?
The most important thing is their region, and like the most critical part, I think, is then how much water is there, or like during the monsoon, how much water logging happens in your region, because that's the only concern we have had till now. Like during the monsoon, if there's not a proper drainage system in place in a particular farm, the plant it's a high risk for plants, and we've seen like plants rotting. So, and since it's a long duration crop, so we have to make sure, the farmer has to make sure that there's a proper drainage system if there is a, yeah, heavy rain in that particular, heavy rainfall in that particular region. I mean, if it's dry region, then it's okay. I mean, there's not enough water, which will be there for like a long duration of 2 to 3 weeks. But then in heavy rainfall regions, they have to make sure that there's proper drainage system. Otherwise, this crop will not be successful. And even on the regions like that's at least our experience, that production is a bit lower on the in the coastal regions. So the farms which are, yeah, within 20 to 50 kilometers of the coastal regions, the production, I mean, it grows, but then the harvest volume is a lower side when compared to other regions.
Okay. For beginners with 1 to 2 acres, is moringa a viable startup crop?
Not unless there is a potential of a cluster in that particular region, um, because the volume which can be generated from 1 to 2 acres, it's not enough for any market to be interested in. If there's a mandi, which is very rare in case of moringa, so there won't be any market. If you're going for pods, for example, and there is consumption of pods in southern India, but at least in northern India, we don't see that often. People do not consume on that on daily basis. It's not part of our cuisine. So this means there won't be any market for 1 to 2 acres of moringa. And as I said, until as there's a potential. I mean, if you start and you see that you have some influence or you have some connection in your region, there might be other farmers who might join you. Since you are doing your pilot project, other might get inspired, and you see the potential, then you can start with 1 or 2 acres. If you're doing for release, and in case of pods, there has to be a local market. Otherwise, for example, in our contract farming model, we do not do it for pods because logistically it's very difficult for us to maintain the quality of pods. So either you have this market ready, I mean, you get into contract farming, or if you have big chunk of land, only then it could be a profitable venture. Otherwise, uh, yeah, it might not be profitable uh, from any point, because yeah, you will be able to grow it but not able to sell it.
Okay. So, what is your advice for farmers who want to move from traditional crops to high value crops?
Only one suggestion from my side, like don't be scared from the other crops, like maybe the market, you just start small. There have been so many farmers who are connecting us with exact same query. I mean, every farmer has their own associated, their own risk-taking capabilities. If that person is a smaller marginal farmer, that person cannot take big risk. But if someone who has a fifth, like who's doing farming for 100 acres of land, for that person to take a risk on 2 to 3 acres of land is nothing. And even from investment point of view, it's not a big risk. But then for them, it's just that, yeah, you have to make sure that, that you have this assistance from outside.
Okay. Sir, what kind of training or support system should farmers seek before starting?
As I said, like this economic guidance from, there should be some institution, it could be a private company or some government institution where you know like which seeds to choose based on your region and so on, right? And even during the crop cycle, what are the challenges which you might face? For example, based on region, there might be some insect. For example, in Ajmer, there was this infestation where, yeah, we never faced it, right? So then there was some economic guidance from our side. In the same manner, I'm pretty sure in other regions, there are other institutions in place. So people before entering into this venture, they should really do a bit research, right? A bit research, where can I get this guidance from, so that at least I can grow the crop successfully. And of course, the market is always there before you start anything.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We have now completed the round of questions on behalf of agricultureinformation.com. We would like to thank you for the talk and for answering the questions. This meeting will now be closed.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome,
Bye.
sir. Bye.